So I think it's no secret I've not been excited for the Ultraman Mebius DVD set from Mill Creek because, well, I'm worried about 6 discs for 50 episodes plus 4 specials. I'm worried about, compression, and I'm like, why are we still doing this very minimal disc effort? And so, when it comes down to it, I can sit here and complain in front of a camera, but unless I actually buy it, I can't complain well. So, I bought it. I got to do this honestly. If I'm gonna review it, I'm gonna talk about it. I got to see it in person, right? So I mean, the one thing I can always give the Mill Creek DVD sets or the Blu-Rays is that they always have these really nice slipcovers. So it's like even if the set looks rough like 80 does, or looks kind of weird like the Gaia and Tiga specials, which we'll talk about those. Usually they look good on a shelf because they got those nice like cardboard slipcovers, right? So there's like nothing to that. So I mean, at the end of the day, like Mebius is gonna look at least nice on my shelf, even if the video quality is not great. And I just made a whole like DC video about how the packaging is important because that's what we see 90% of the time. So anyways, this will at least look good on the shelf. It should look pretty great. And oh no. There's no slipcover? It's just a plastic case? It's just a plastic case? It's morphin' time. Good. Mebius might be the breaking point, and then the power of the orb ring will be mine. Hello, this is Soundout here, and welcome to my next Mill Creek Ultraman video. And I definitely made it clear from the cold open, the packaging caught me off guard, to say the least. For whatever reason, this is the first of the Ultraman releases to not feature any exterior cardboard, whether a slip case or a slip cover. There's nothing. This is a completely different packaging format, in the sense that it's just a plastic case. There have been some plastic case only releases as the single releases from the New Generation movies, but those are always meant to be a side thing, not the primary release. So with Mebius, this set is honestly not bad looking even without the slipcase, because the packaging art is so strong. You have Mebius here, you have Ultraman Mebius. I love the logo work. Super Eye's done a great job with their English logos, because this looks like the Japanese logo for Mebius, especially with that infinity symbol being worked into the M. Down here you can also see the wonderful logos for all of these specials, and this includes all the movies and specials for the Mebius series, including Mebius and the Ultra Brothers, Ghost Rebirth, Armored Darkness, and Hikari's Saga. This doesn't include Superior Ultra Brothers, as that had a single release on a Blu-ray outside of that, and it's a different universe anyways. On the side, as you can see, we got a nice picture of Mebius, the same one from the front. Ultraman Mebius. So while it's a simplified packaging design, it's not bad. I mean, you still got similar things down here with the red legal text. Approximate runtime 24 hours. Wow. It does have Dolby Audio though. That's a plus. So anyways, we got, Mebius description for the show, and then each of the specials here. So it works pretty good. It does mention, what's interesting with this is that it does mention that like, they all say full screen, even though this is 1.78 to 1, which is widescreen. This one's 1.78 to 1, which I think that one's in widescreen. I haven't actually seen that special. 1.33 to 1 is full screen. So like, if you got black bars, that would be these three. And then if you have, white, I don't think this one's in widescreen. Anyways, the fact they say full screen, but they put the proper like digits for the aspect ratio is interesting. But these two are in 5.1 audio, whereas the rest are in 2.0. So pretty good overall. I mean, just looking at the stats. We'll see how the discs are when we get to the discs. But let's crack it open. Inside, we can see we've got an episode guide and information booklet. Similar to the Tiga Dynat Gaia sets, this is more stripped down from the New Gen series, so it's just a basic one. You got your Ultraman forms for Mebius and Hikari, being Mebius Brave, Mebius Burning Brave, Phoenix Brave, and then Hunter Knight Tsurugi. Some of the tech that the crew guys use, which is pretty cool, because crew guys is a cool team. And then you got your episodes with your kaiju represented there, so pretty much the basic normal stuff you'd expect from these booklets, and the same ad that we've had on pretty much half the releases at this point. So pretty good overall. On the inside as well, you can see disc 1 has Mebius, disc 2 has Hikari, disc 3 is Mebius Burning, and then this is, no, Mebius Brave. Burning Brave is on disc 4, and Hunter Knight Tsurugi is on disc 5. And then disc 6 just has the logos for all of the specials. And yes, that is 10 episodes per disc. That is a lot for a single DVD. What's also of note is there is a reversible cover because, well, let's talk about the packaging consistency. So first things first, like I said, this is the first series to be released as a plastic case only, which is a bit jarring. The Showa sets came in these nice, thick slip boxes where they were packed into the side of them. The new generation shows were standard Blu-ray cases with a nice slipcover on top of them. Unfortunately, I've noticed that these weren't wrapped correctly, I think. They always wrapped them where they'd wrap this part of it and then slide the slipcover over it, which I think they should have been wrapped together. Because people have been getting their Ultraman Rube sets without the actual slipcover, and they're just getting the inner case, and that sucks. Single-released movies that have their first release, like Superior 8 Ultra Brothers, which matches Mebius, also had a nice little slipcover. Unrelated to Ultraman, but another tokusatsu from Tsuburaya, Gridman, also from Mill Creek, again, had a slipcover. So there's some consistency there. Most specifically, though, the DVD sets for Tiga Dynagaya, the Ultraman, and 80 all feature these side slip boxes. So Mebius is an outlier in that. Now, the question is this going to be a problem on a shelf? And while we'll look at the full collection in a minute, it does look different. It definitely is a different format compared to the Tiga Dynagaya, but Tiga Dynagaya have the spine art similar to the formatting of the Showa era series. But Mebius having a picture up top and a logo, sort of similar to New Gen, but not quite. It's sort of its own era, in a way. And I'll be curious to see how Cosmos, Nexus, and Max look as the spines. But if you put, like, Superior 8 Ultra Brothers next to Mebius, as it is a Mebius movie in a different universe, it actually doesn't look that bad. So we'll look at it with the full collection in a moment. But the thing I did want to point out is the reversible cover, which is a first for these releases. So if we take this, open it up, pull the cover, flip it around, put it back in, and then close the case back up, you'll notice that the packaging looks quite a bit different. And this is how I know it's not a mistake, like they didn't accidentally ship these without slipcovers. This was intentional design. You can see on the front we got Mebius and Hikari. The spine has Mebius, and on the back we got a kaiju. So that is very similar to the interior of the Tiga Dynagaya trilogy. So as you can see, Tiga on the front, kaiju on the back, red banner with the logo. So if you did want to match them up, that is an option. You can also, have it like this, where you turn the Tiga Dynagaya cases around so they match up with Mebius. Not the worst option overall. And heck, even like this, it's not too bad, again, because of the predominantly red. But the lack of an Ultraman picture doesn't line those up. So essentially, it's kind of like a, hey, do you want Mebius to match the opposite side of the Tiga Dynagaya? Or if you flip his cover around, do you want it to match the more colorful side? But like I said, let's see how this looks with the rest of the Ultraman Blu-ray and DVD collection. The packaging did not destroy him the way I expected. I will have to break him in another way. So here is the Ultraman collection, now including Mebius. Yes, it's weird that Mebius doesn't have any cardboard on it. However, it doesn't stick out that bad. It's kind of a weird thing, because I think that in a lot of ways, while I am used to collections mismatching, I mean, if you just pivot slightly to the right and look at my Devilman Blu-rays, 2 of them have a slipcover and 1 of them doesn't, because that third one never had a slipcover, okay? It just happens, but that's usually between multiple companies. It's weird when it happens within the same company releasing something. This is not Mill Creek, by the way. This SSSS Gridman is Funimation, but still, it's part of the collection. It's Gridman. Anyways, the point is that Mebius is right there. It sort of matches in. It sort of goes together because I think it's in its own little box at the moment. As you see, the Showa sets all match up except for the Ultraman and 80 because those aren't on Blu-ray. They were never going to line up those other two. It just wasn't going to happen. Tiga Dynagaya have the nice little consistent spine art thing. The new generation shows, which have sort of similar formatting from like Mega Monster Battle onward, but specifically Ginga through Rube, all have that similar formatting. Gridman sort of falls in line with that. and some other stuff in between. But if you're looking at these specifically right here, this middle Heisei era stuff we've gotten so far, Ultra 7X, Superior Ultra Brothers, Mebius, those all have different styles. But in a lot of ways, Mebius and Ultra 7X are actually the closest equivalents because they have similar, darker packaging art on the front, and the spine art is just the front art with the logo. They're actually not too different. In fact, Superior to Ultra Brothers, it's a known universe. It came after Ultra 7X. But if you put these next to each other, they sort of match. Now, the cardboard, lack of cardboard, definitely kind of a weird inconsistency. But I guess we'll see what happens. I would prefer all of these releases and any going forward to have a slip box or a slip cover. It makes them look nicer. It adds to the feeling of you're getting something of a good value. And I think it's definitely important. But I guess we'll just see how it goes. With the Ultraman releases, they've kind of been doing this sort of back and forth thing going on. Like, people have wondered, why did we get Mebius, but not Cosmos, Nexus, or Max, which came before, after Gaia? Well, here's the thing. Mebius is going from this direction, while these are going this direction. So they did the Showa sets, they did the New Gen sets. They're sort of converging in the middle. While not a complete sort of reference point, we went from Ultra 7X to Mebius. That's going backwards towards Tiga Dyna Gaia. The next proper release is Zeearth. Zeearth came after Tiga, the first movie, and the second movie came out after Dyna. So technically Zeearth would go between them, but we kind of typically put them before or after. So we'll see how the Zeearth thing, because these had to be released together. Just Tiga Dyna Gaia, they are a thing. So we'll see how Zeearth turns out. And the Ultraman Kids anime, I don't know where to categorize that, but those two things are the next releases in July, and we'll see how their packaging style is. I hope they have slipcovers. I imagine with Zeearth being 1 disc and Ultraman Kids being 4, they're not going to be in these thicker cases. They're probably going to be in like single DVD cases. And hopefully they have a slipcover to them, because that would just look nice. It would just look nice on the shelf. But we'll see what happens with the future releases. We are starting to get to the point where Mill Creek is sort of running out of releases to do because their initial contract had up through the Rube movie. So Taiga, Zet, and Trigger are still new generation shows they can do, but they have to get a new contract for those. But yeah, it's pretty much coming down to, we're getting Zeearth, we're getting the kids. Cosmos, Nexus, and Max are the other 3 major shows that we haven't seen yet, that we know they have the rights to because Tokusatsu mentioned in the deal where they're streaming all of Mill Creek's releases, those are included. So we're at this point of Mebius is sort of a transition point between the DVD and the Blu-ray in a lot of ways. So we'll see how the rest of the collection turns out. Now on that note, I think it's time to get Mebius off the shelf and pop these discs into a player. Oh man, let's hope 10 episodes per disc did not completely make this an unwatchable set. Oh, this is... Oh, this is... How in... Oh my... How is that even possible? There's how much on a disc and it looks good? The revelation of the video quality is close to breaking his mind. Okay. I've watched enough of you to know how the quality is. Gotta talk about it honestly. I have to be legit about how I'm feeling about this. Despite what I think people will say, despite the names that may call me, gotta be legitimate and honest about this. I won't take any complaints of a sellout, because I paid for this. And I can't be a sellout if I'm having to pay for stuff. If I'm gonna sell out, I'm gonna be getting stuff for free, right? I just don't know how people are gonna react to this one. Everyone's waited so long for this, I better get to it. I have seen your future. I know where you will go from here. We can take a step back. Make it so you never reviewed Mill Creek Ultraman releases. Save you from all of this. No, I can't go back on what I've done. I gotta keep going. If I'm gonna do this, I gotta do it honestly. There's nothing that will stop me. So I'm not exactly sure how best to put this, but Ultraman Mebius is a good DVD set, and I actually really have no complaints. I know, right? I've been dreading this for months, as it's very clear in my videos and my Twitter feeds. I have not been looking forward to this. Somehow, some magical compression necromancy of a release here, they put 10 episodes on a disc and it doesn't look like it's compressed. It just looks like it should. It's a 2006 show and it looks like a 2006 show. It's a right before HD era show and it looks really good even on an HD TV, even on a 4K TV. And you know how I know this? Because I went to watch one episode of Mebius, was kind of blown away at the quality, and kept going. I'm on episode 20 and it's only been like 3 days. I've also watched the first movie. The movies and specials look good. The episodes look great. The sound is really good. Even the menu is less fuzzy than previous menus. They pulled off some magical technical wizardry in this set, which leads me to believe that Tiga, Dyna, Gaia, the Ultraman, and 80, I don't know why I keep putting them out of order like that, don't worry about it, may not have been Mill Creek's fault, and they may have been trying everything they could have to make something that didn't have a good video source from Tsuburaya. What led me down this path and why I wanted to bring this up now is there was a Twitter thread by Ivan Hobe on Twitter. He did a whole breakdown of the Tiga DVD set down to the specifics of what DVD encoding they were using. It's really technical, it's really great and interesting. If you're into that sort of thing, I want to kind of provide a simpler version of it. And in doing so, I want to have some visual examples. So I do have some screenshots, which we will show to sort of compare how all of these DVD sets from the Ultraman to 80 to Tiga to Dyna to Gaia to Mebius are using the same codec of DVD. However, Mebius just looks 100% better. So let's take a look at those screenshots and let's break down what exactly makes it great. So when talking about DVD formatting, there are multiple DVD formats to have depending on the capacity. Here's a handy little chart that I found on Wikipedia. The basic thing is that most companies will use a DVD-2, which is a dual layer, one-sided disc that holds about 2.65 gigabytes of video. Some will use a DVD-4, which is also a dual layered, and it's a two-sided disc that can get up to 5.31. What we're dealing with the Ultraman sets is actually a DVD-9, which is a dual layer, single-sided disc that has 8.54 gigabytes of capacity. It's essentially the largest you can get without having a two-sided disc, one where you have to flip over to see the other half, kind of like a vinyl record. With a DVD-9, they're usually more expensive, so it's kind of strange that, Mill Creek decided to go with this, but it's very much that we are looking at DVD-9s. How do we know this? Well, we can pop the discs into a computer and look at the file size of each of them. Starting off, looking at the first disc of The Ultraman, which is the Jonius series, you can see that the capacity is 7.37 gigabytes and available is 0 bytes. The reason why it's done like this is because this is when it's fully compressed. It kind of locks in that size. Looking at Ultraman 80, it had 8 to 9 episodes of disc, and you can see that the capacity is listed at 8.26 gigabytes. So there is definitely more, but still under the limit for a DVD-9. With Tiga, it's at 8.23 gigabytes. Again, a high capacity. Dyna is a similar story, 8.27 gigabytes on a disc. And Gaia is at 8.26 gigabytes on a disc. Now, why is this all important? Well, as I mentioned, Mebius has more episodes per disc, even if they are a little shorter, than the other shows. So how much is on a disc of Mebius? That is 7.22 gigabytes for 10 episodes of Mebius, which is a newer show, still done with videotape formatting, but is actually a smaller amount of gigabytes on that first disc, even though it's a whole 10 episodes. So how does it actually look in comparison? So starting off, here's a screenshot from Ultraman Jonius' show, The Ultraman. As you can see, it's not the clearest picture. There's messy lines around the animation cells. It looks okay, but considering that the show itself was cell animation, it could be a lot better. But in order to do so, Tsuburaya would have to remaster it themselves. The same goes for Ultraman 80, which was shot on film and would need a full remaster, but unfortunately I think 80 is not popular enough to justify that because it looks like this most of the time, which is really unfortunate because it's incredibly hazy and it's incredibly blurry. And I'm not even picking like a heavy action shot, it's a shot of someone walking through a street. And even during the action shots, you can see that while it's a little bit clearer than some of the standard stuff, probably using the higher quality film just for the visual effects, this shot of 80 is still quite blurry in a lot of ways, and you can see pretty much the video quality is not what it should be. Now looking at a shot from Tiga, the image is much sharper in a lot of ways. It is a lot cleaner, and it's not so hazy like it was for 80. And even when you see things in motion, such as the shot of Tiga, you're not getting any kind of ghosting where the image is sort of separating from the motion. It works like a natural blur. And overall, with a lot of the shots of the normal actors without any special effects, it does look pretty good overall. Again, not the best. Like I mentioned before, I figured it was fine. It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't really terrible. But honestly, Dinah does look a bit better than Tiga. It is a year newer than Tiga, but, you know, looking at a standard shot like this, things look pretty good. And then shots of the Ultraman, like Dinah here, do look better than Tiga, but not super great. There's a lot of meshing into the background, particularly with a shot like this. When it comes to Gaia, again, it's not a super sharp image, but it's still pretty decent. You have separation of elements of backgrounds and characters. Now, where am I leading with all of this? Here's a shot from Mebius. This is a still frame, and of course, video quality is always going to be a little different in stills than actual moving pictures, but this looks super clean. There's none of that haze, there's none of that fuzziness. It's actually really sharp, all things considered. And again, this is on a disc that has 10 episodes that is somehow in less gigabytes than the previous releases. Even in motion, Mebius doesn't lose too much. There's no ghosting issues or artifacting that would come up with some of these releases, and in fact still looks good even in a nighttime shot with heavy motion. And looking at this shot of Ultraman Mebius, it is categorically a step above the other DVD sets. And this is probably due to the way that Tsuburaya kept the series as opposed to the others. There definitely seems to be a better master out there for Mebius, and it definitely shows on the final release. Of note, the subs are based on the Crunchyroll subs from everything I can tell, and they are centered correctly, unlike Ultraman Jonius, which I still don't get why the show decided to have everything left aligned on the subtitles. It just doesn't look natural whatsoever. So looking at Ultraman Mebius, it's definitely a step up in video quality from the previous DVD sets, and I would say, without a doubt, it looks really good, which is not what I expected out of a set that was going to have 10 episodes per disc. So at the end of the day, this Mebius set is good. I can actually recommend it. The only complaint I have with it is the lack of a slip box. It doesn't match other sets, and that's a bummer. It just is. But other than that, this set is pretty fantastic. You're getting the entire show on 6 DVDs without any video problems, without any audio problems. I'm 20 episodes deep and haven't encountered a single problem with it. And I'm worried that, you know, in a way, because I have been harsh on Mill Creek, I gotta praise them when I praise them. And this is, I hope nobody thinks I'm lying here. I'm hoping the screenshots were enough proof, but this actually looks good. Whether you're watching it on a old standard definition TV, which is probably the best way to watch like Tiga, Dinah, and Gaia, or if you're watching it on HD TV, Mebius looks good. And that's not words I thought I would say, especially with how things have been going lately. So who knows? Maybe they had to sacrifice the case to spend more on the video work. If that's the case going forward, then okay. I can sacrifice cardboard for the sake of the disc looking better. But it does suck when you put it on the collection on the shelf. But overall, if you're looking for Ultraman Mebius, which I do highly recommend, I think it's a great show. The characters and the storytelling is really excellent. Go for it. Get the DVD set. Regardless if it has a slipcover or not, they somehow pulled off 50 episodes, 1 movie, and 3 specials onto a 6 DVD set, and it looks good. And I've been dreading doing this video because 6 DVDs for 50 episodes, 1 movie, and 3 specials just seemed like too much. It seemed like too much for that little discount. But whatever they did, however they made it work, they took what was 16 discs in Japan and made it 6 discs here. Blowing my mind still. I'm looking forward to Zayurth and Kids, hoping they have slip covers or slip boxes, and we'll see how that goes in July. I'll do an update if there's something worthy to talk about with those. If not, I might just wait for whatever is after. I'm now back looking forward to these releases. While I'm bummed out about the slipcover, the fact that the release looks as good as it does, and also it's great because Mebius is a great show and I'm glad that it's got such a good release, that now I'm like a little bit more restored in my faith and happiness. I feel the powers of light again as opposed to the powers of darkness. And that's good. It's a good feeling. That's all for now from the Mill Creek Ultraman. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. I definitely went over a lot of stuff and a lot of technical aspects, and sometimes that stuff can get confusing. And I hope I didn't oversimplify while also making it easy to digest for those that aren't really you know, into the deep depths of disc content. It's a complicated little thing. But if you enjoyed it, hit the like button, hit subscribe and the notification bell. There will be more Mill Creek Ultraman and other Ultraman videos on the channel. My love for Ultraman continues to grow every single day, and that's going to just lead to more videos in the future. Also, be sure to check out Hero Club at hero-club.com for Ultraman news and more, and my awesome graphic designer on Twitter at darkclaw643. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.